Hey everyone, how are you? It's a pleasure to be here. Look, this one's going to be a bit more impromptu. I'm trying to kind of gather things. I'm not ad-libbing because I always ad-lib. I don't have anything scripted when I'm speaking to you. But I'll be kind of looking to the side, kind of looking at my notes, just trying to recall certain positions where Pepo de la Vega's played because I've been asked, hey, what's he going to offer to Seattle? I'll have to also look at my notes, seeing the games that I did this past season. And De La Vega ends up being a very interesting prospect. I'll tell you that exactly. Is he the replacement for Nico Lodeiro? Many are looking at it from that perspective. My answer would end up being maybe. Now, you end up in that particular slot, in that particular position, you end up shaving about 12 years in terms of experience, and also in terms of wear and tear. Although De La Vega's had previous injuries, De La Vega's had not run-ins, but he's had disagreements with coaches. And keep in mind, it's not a bad thing. It's just that the coaches that he had and the tactical dispositions that he had to deal with were so varied that it ends up making him kind of inconsistent. If you start looking at stats alone, which is what many end up doing, oh well, he's good because he's able to do this and this. Well, you end up missing out on a lot of facets and a lot of contexts behind what De La Vega's had to deal with during his time at Lanús. He's had to deal with several coaching changes, several positional changes, several changes in terms of footballing philosophy, and also, which is the fourth one, which is probably more important than anything else, the administrative troubles that have haunted Lanús. That if you look at the players that have come out of Lanús in the past few years, you end up saying, well, how did this team not win titles? Yes, they got to a Sudamericana final. Yes, they were able to compete at a certain point. But how come they're not able to brag and have silverware? That tells you a great deal about the problems that the administrative end of Lanús have had. And it ends up being a byproduct of the performances that ended up being so up and down in certain stages that it ends up affecting players like De La Vega. When you have a very offensive player, coach in Subeldía, and you end up having a very defensive coach in Kudelka, and you have a very offensive coach on one end, and you have complete changes in philosophy, you end up having players struggle. Now, within that struggle, you end up probably having a reinvention depending on who you are. In De La Vega's case, you saw a player that was able to fortify himself as being that more revulsive player coming off the bench, but when he's able to start, he was able to offer dynamic. Although there were certain stages, like I said, depending on the coach, depending on the season, where De La Vega, if he was on the pitch, he would end up kind of fading away. So he needs playing time. So if he's coming off the bench consistently, De La Vega just ends up being okay. But if he ends up playing consistently, which I do believe is going to be the case, a team's not going to pay, an MLS team in particular, is not going to pay $7 million for a player to have him on the bench. And De La Vega needs minutes. De La Vega needs reps. De La Vega needs time. And it's going to be interesting for him knowing that he's going from a league that you primarily play on grass to playing most, and actually all your home games on artificial turf. That'll be an interesting transition for him. It usually is for South American players. And unless you play for Palmeiras or Atlético Paranaense, the like. And for him, it'll be interesting to see. Like I said before, De La Vega can play on the right, out wide, as a winger. De La Vega can play on the right and the channel. Same thing on the left. So I end up repeating myself if I end up kind of playing. Now, can he play in the middle? Yes, he can. Now, depending on the formation and knowing how Brian Smetzer has been able to, it's basically 4-2-3-1. He would end up playing either in the middle or more towards the channels, allowing the fullbacks to go over him. Although you end up seeing more play if he ends up playing wide, more association with the fullbacks than anything else. Now, can he push forward and score? Yes, he can. He can do that as well. He's very versatile. Can he end up being a superstar in Seattle? It would be interesting to see. It would be an interesting follow in terms of his development there. If he's given the possibility of really being creative and really showcasing his talents, I believe he can be. He has that potential. Again, I underline the word potential because, like I've said before, De La Vega 2023-2024 is completely different to De La Vega 2020-2021. Many in Europe in 2020-2021 were looking at De La Vega as a possible move to Europe. Even so, that at that point in his career, he changed agents. He was able to acquire a brand new agent and a brand new marketing agency that was going to be backing. Of course, he has the look, he has the charisma, he has the swagger, he has all that to be a very interesting character within your team. And that never happened because shortly thereafter he ends up getting injured. He ends up having problems. He ends up having run-ins like many other players at Lanús did during 2021-22 when the administration and certain players, even the captain of the team at that point, Lautaro Costa, ended up having a run-in, kind of locking horns with Lanús and its board. So again, I have to put everything on the table in order for you to truly understand what De La Vega's done, what De La Vega is capable of doing, what De La Vega can do, and what he's been able to go through in order to offer what he's offered so far. So I hope you guys like this. I wish that he does well. He's a very good player, and he could be one of those quiet revelations come 2024 in North American football. We shall see. All right, guys, so talk to you soon. Make sure you do everything, of course, follow, also subscribe, also like, you know the deal. I don't have to explain it, guys, do I? Well, whatever you have to do, go ahead and do it. All right, talk to you soon.